Hi, what's up, everybody? I'm Matty Willz. Welcome back to another episode, a brand new episode of Wellbeing Wednesday with Matty Willz, brought to you, of course, by MetroHealth. And today we'll be talking to the one and only Dr. Pearman about, a topic that I honestly can say that I haven't given an especially a large amount of thought to, but it is certainly very important. So I'm super glad that we're covering it. But before we get to that, let's welcome in today's guest, Dr. Pearman. How you doing today?
I'm good. Thank you so much for having me.
Of
Very
course.
excited to be here.
And we're excited to have you. And thank you, honestly, for taking time out of your day. I say this a lot. Our listeners and viewers are probably tired of hearing me say it, but we know that you guys work very, very hard. You have done a lot to get to where you are today, which is why we trust everything that you say. So before we get started with today's episode, which, by the way, is mental health and the aging population, the floor is yours. Tell everybody, kind of your journey into your role at MetroHealth, where you've been, and what exactly you do with MetroHealth.
Okay, well, I have been at MetroHealth for about 2 years. I moved up here from Atlanta, Georgia, where I had a private practice and I had been doing research on cognitive aging at the Georgia Tech, at Georgia Tech. So, and got to a point where I really decided I wanted to do more clinical work. So went looking for positions that were interesting in terms of geropsychology, which is the focus of a clinical psychologist who focuses specifically on older adults, which is my specialty. And looked for some places that were interesting and were looking for that type of person. And I have to tell you, there's not a lot of them. You'd think there would be because given our current population of lots of older adults, there were not that many positions. But Metro seemed really interested in mental health in general. And I loved that they were actually looking for a geropsychologist, someone specifically to work with the older adults of the Metro community. So here I am.
Dope. And here you are, and we're happy to have you again. And I got to just point out, you may be the first person that I've heard say move from Atlanta to Cleveland. All of my friends and colleagues and everybody else has been moving from Cleveland to Atlanta, but that's a different episode that we can get into at a different time. So again, today we're talking about mental health and the aging population. I was interested to read that 1 in 4 older people experience some sort of mental health thing, right? So that kind of stuck out to me as I was reviewing our notes, and I'm sure you'll kind of shed some light on why that is as we talk. But our first question is, why is mental health important for elderly individuals?
Well, I think this is obviously a very important topic to me, and I think we tend to have in our society we have a lot of ageism. So people don't think about older adults as having mental health problems. They sort of think, well, if someone's a little more tired or just less energy than they used to, they're just old. So I really understanding that older adults have very similar mental health problems as younger people, and some new ones too. So I think it's just really important to get the message out that uh, mental health is something that older adults struggle with, and mental health issues and challenges and depression and anxiety and all the different types of mental health crises that people can have are there for older adults too. And then one other thing that I think is important to think about is, we're coming out of the pandemic and older adults were really isolated, probably more so than most other people. And some people are still sort of just coming out of their apartments. They've been really isolated and lonely and can't quite figure out how to do it, how to get back out there. So I'm going to encourage people to reach out to anybody older that they know and just check in on them. So, and I'll say that several times today, probably.
For sure. And that's something that another thing that I think it's easily forgotten that while the pandemic kind of does seem like a long time ago, in the context of everything, it really wasn't that long ago. So it is super important to point that out. So thank you for doing that. Now, I don't want to botch this word, but it's the psychologist that starts with the G.
Gero,
Geropsychologist.
yeah,
I was
geropsychologist.
leaning toward that, but This is one thing that I like to clear up before we go live. So that's on me. But when should someone see a geropsychologist?
I think if there's any sort of concern about mental health, or even health, one of the things that happens with older people is they have a lot of chronic conditions, and those chronic conditions really can contribute to mental health. So that's another thing that psychologists can help with. But if they seem sadder, more tearful, their personality seems different. If you've noticed that your grandma or your mom or just any older adult in your life seems crankier or meaner, don't just assume that that's just how they are. There might be something wrong. There might be something that can be treated. So people really, one of the hallmarks of depression in older people is sort of the lack of energy. So sort of feeling like I don't really feel like doing anything. So you know all of a sudden somebody who used to be pretty active is now just watching TV all day. That could be a sign that there's something wrong. So I think if anybody just notices somebody just being different in some way, it's worth talking to somebody, even if it's just for one session, to check in and say, let's do an assessment and see how you're doing. If you're doing okay, then great. You don't have to see me again, but if not, let's see what we can do to fix this, or at least help it.
For sure. And one of the things that you just said is kind of stood out to me is kind of just paying attention, right? And making sure that we do capture all of those signs, pay attention to all of those signs. We know that quality of life is important at any age. But when we're talking about some of our older family members and friends and things like that, they may not have as many people anymore who will notice those things. So when we do notice them, we should definitely act on them. So we'll get you out of here with this, doctor. What does MetroHealth offer to older patients who are struggling with their mental health?
Well, there's several different things that a geropsychologist can do, and then MetroHealth in general has a couple different geriatric sort of ways to get people some care. But I'm currently the only geropsychologist at Metro, and what I can do therapy, so I can work on things like depression and anxiety. I can do assessments. So if you're worried about the memory or cognition, and you're worried about that somebody or yourself is having trouble remembering things, I can do an assessment of that and try and figure out, is it dementia? Is it depression? What's going on there? And then I can also try and help people get the services that they need, figure out where they need to go. So geropsychologist does a lot of that kind of thing too. So, if I'm seeing, let's say if I'm seeing a caregiver of somebody who's got a partner or a parent or somebody has dementia, I can also help the family get them to some support too. So get them to the Alzheimer's Association, or get them therapy, get them their own therapy, whatever. But caregiver stress is something that, I will often help with a lot as well. So yeah.
Perfect. Well, we need you. First of all, we need more of you. We need more people like you. But of course, if people want to reach out to Dr. Pearman or MetroHealth in general, you can always make an appointment with a geropsychologist by calling 216-696-3876, or sign into my chart, which is something that I've been getting more and more familiar with over this last year, as I've highlighted over a lot of our episodes. So is there anything else, Dr. Pearman, that we didn't touch on, or something that you may just want to stress before we close out today?
Yes, just in terms of getting to see a geropsychologist, which currently, again, at Metro, I am the only one. All somebody would have to do is talk to their primary care physician and say, I want to talk to a geropsychologist. And they can put in a code or referral, and they will come right to me. So it's a really nice system. So just talk to your primary care physician or your parents or grandparents or whoever, and just ask for that referral.
Absolutely. And that's very important as well. And as always, I like to remind folks, maybe this episode is talking to somebody that talking about somebody that a family member, a friend, or anything. Please share this video with them. We know it's on the internet, so it'll be up forever. We've got all the pertinent information down in our caption as well. So on behalf of Radio 1 Cleveland, Dr. Pearman, we appreciate having you today. And I'm sure we'll talk soon, okay?
Thank you so much. It's been lovely.
Absolutely. Thanks a lot. We'll see you guys next time. Thanks.